Hi, my name is Mark Monlux, and you're watching another episode of Epic Sketch Time. This is a weekly online drawing group. If you'd like to join, please contact me at markmonlux@comcast.net or at my Twitter at markmonlux. That's MarkMonlux. You can usually reach me through my YouTube channel as well. I'm a freelance illustrator. I live in Tacoma, Washington, and I love to get together with fellow creatives. Guys, why don't you introduce yourselves?
Who wants to go? I'll go. I'm Russ Richards. I'm a freelance illustrator, also based in Washington. New to the game. Doing what I can with what I have, and I'll be working on a Flash commission again today.
I think Locke has turned his microphone off because he has little kids in the house.
Gotcha.
So maybe we'll hear from him later on. I can't see what he's working on yet, so hopefully when he starts talking. I'm looking at your Flash image, and when we got together earlier at Freelance Fandango and you showed this to Stowe, and he mentioned the whole turning the hip, that's really starting to make a difference.
Yeah?
Yeah, I can tell that it's already beginning to look better.
Yeah, I think what I also got to do is his foot here needs to be bigger because it's coming towards you. So if I got rid of... So what I'll do, I'll show you.
Yeah, I think that foot does need to be bigger. I still think the thigh is...
See, if I increase and have this just be his foot instead of,
Well, it's that inside muscle there doesn't look anatomically correct.
Well, you have an inner thigh muscle here, and then you have your muscle that comes here, and then you have a muscle that's here, and then you have a few that like connect to the knee this way.
There you go. Microphone's working. Yay!
Yay!
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It just doesn't...
Yeah, because there's a muscle group here. There's a muscle here.
Sorry, go ahead. Russ, you
muscle here. Oh, sorry, go. Yeah, no, I didn't realize you made it back on.
Now I can't hear anybody.
We can hear you, Locke.
We can hear you, Locke. And
awesome.
I don't know. I know that that to me the muscle looks lopsided with too much of it in the foreground, and not enough in the middle of it.
But you see what I'm saying, though? Like if I bring his foot
here,
it makes it bigger.
Yeah, I think especially if you punch it out right on where the forward heel.
Yeah, so like his foot would come here, like that.
Yeah, I think if you did that, it would look a lot better.
Yeah, because then you won't see the calf like I had put in there, and I think that's where I was getting thrown off there. And then, I mean, I know that there's like, I'm just trying to. Anyway, the other thing is too is I could make this a lot smaller.
Yeah, that would help a lot more.
And then bring the foot more this way, so it's further back, and I could even actually probably bring it up.
I think it just needs to be smaller and up.
Yeah.
So, Locke.
Yeah.
Russ has been struggling with this position. What do you think of Flash's thigh?
Well, normally in comics you should exaggerate because Flash is superhuman, and most if he's running, his legs should be massive. That's to begin with, right?
Right.
And the But the leg I'm running into is one looks really short, the other one looks really close.
Can you have more rainbow candy?
Yeah, more rainbow candy.
Yes.
Go ask mommy, okay? Go ask mommy.
No.
You ask daddy. I have to get more rainbow candy, so excuse me.
I just got a text from Bill. Apparently he didn't get an invite, so I'm going to resend it to him.
I got your email this morning, but I didn't get
the afternoon invite.
Yeah, I didn't get that at all.
Oh,
that's why I just Facebooked you instead. Well, I can never log on via email anyhow. I gotta always gotta email or gotta get it from Facebook to get logged on. Stowe even made the suggestion of maybe overlapping the foot, like putting the foot more, like so bringing it this way and having maybe the foot kind of carry onto this. But then I was like, oh, that would look like he's tripping over himself.
I think your instinct is right there.
Okay.
Here, you want to sit? There you go.
Sit over here.
Okay. Yeah, you want to try that?
Okay.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
If you are making a guy run,
yeah,
most likely, here's the hip, right?
Yeah.
Now, normally, if this guy's forward, right? So you're looking at that part forward. The other one's always going to go somewhere from behind, right? Because that's part of the action. Now, most likely, it's going to be, you're going to be doing something like this: one in front, one from behind, right?
Yes.
So that guy, right? So ideally, if you are going to draw it, I normally something like this, right? So going back to remember how we do tubes?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Right? So the knee, the calves, leg back there, whatever this portion is, and then you end up with, this. There's always an exaggeration, right?
Yes.
There's always some sort of exaggeration for when they're running. So then again, then the character starts to, because one's always forward and the other one has to, so it's always the opposite.
Sure.
So this hand is always going to be somewhere in here. So it's almost like a balancing thing, right? So,
yep.
So you're now going like that, right? So I don't know if you can see that or not.
Yeah. No, I totally see where you're getting at.
Right.
See, but I have him in such a position, like with his, because I got his hip bones. Like, I mean, you can see here. Let me get a different color. Delete all this stuff. So I got, his hip bone like sitting here. So in theory, yeah, this one, is probably needs to be tilted a lot more. But I think the way I have his rib cage and everything, because I wanted him kind of looking back, almost like the car's catching up to him. So it's almost at a 3/4. I think my angle is just what's really throwing me off, like really bad.
Yeah, let me see if I can get the actual flow proper.
Bill's finally made it on. Bill, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I am Bill. I'm a cartoonist and illustrator working out of Seattle, Washington. And
welcome, Bill.
Thank you. Yeah, it's weird. This is the second time this happened, and I'm pretty sure I didn't start screening Mark without realizing it.
It's all good. That's not the right
one.
I should be working on a client's deadline right now, but I really want to draw this giant claw monster.
Something's throwing me off when I'm trying to draw him doing that. It's like almost like a curve, right?
Oh, I like how you have the knee and the thigh straight at the figure, and the thigh is completely foreshortened.
Yeah, it's got to be there's a balance to it, right? So because I always have like a center line if he's gonna be somewhere back here.
Right. So if I got this coming off here.
Right. So there's got to be like it feels weird.
So if I brought his knee up high,
that might do it.
Yeah, then you have to bring the shin down.
Right.
Get the more standard, you know. You would have the foot tilting forward and see the front side of the sole.
Right.
Maybe it's the angle that you got it at that I'm having trouble with.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe I just need to start over. Redo it all.
I think
Jack Kirby is always the best for that. He does these things where almost the guy's leaping at you all the time.
Yeah.
He's got that worked out. Yeah, something like that where, you know, the knee has to... Yeah. Because if you got one knee coming in, the other hand's got to go forward, which is you have correctly. And if the other arm is going back, that means the opposite leg is in the back, right?
Right.
Gives you that, right? Because there's always that human balance, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And see, one of the guys we were talking to earlier today, he was like, "Yeah, he's all, but it's art. You can break rules, just break it. You know, if it works for the drawing you're doing, just do it. You know how you think it's gonna work the best."
have you actually pulled out a Flash comic to see if this same position has been drawn by somebody else?
Dude, I've looked everywhere. I've been on like Pinterest. I've been on. I mean, there's things that are close and that are similar.
When it gets to that point, that's where I have my poser software.
Yeah, I need to. Do you have a recommendation for a great pose software there, Bill?
I just said poser, but
it's called Poser. It literally is called Poser.
That's the main one.
Look this up.
Clip Studio Paint has some model functions in it as well.
Thank you.
So Ivory saw Alien
Yeah.
this weekend. And I have to say it. There were a couple things about Bill. Do you have your sound up too high, or where am I?
Probably just a second. That better?
Testing. Yeah, but I'm not getting the same reverb as I was before. Okay. So there was two things about the director's cut that I didn't like. And the very first one was in the opening credits. Part of the wonderful effect when I was first in the theaters of the opening credits was the very slow build of the word alien. And it was the only thing showing up on the screen besides this wonderful backdrop of the space and this planets and the astral plane. And it was really creepy. You're wondering what these things were, and then it slowly spelled out the word alien at the top of the screen. But during the director's cut, all of that was spoiled by this really lamely popping up and disappearing Arial font credits for the various people involved. Yes, I know you're the director. Yes, I know these guys were all involved. But Jesus, don't ruin this wonderful intro. Why are you doing this to me? Anyway, I was unhappy with that. And maybe that was just something that was done to the director's cut by somebody else, but I thought the director's cut was supposed to be the director's cut. The other thing was there was the scene, a cocoon scene, which wasn't in the original movie. And I think the cocoon scene could have been left out. I don't think I think it messed up with the timing. Don't think it necessarily had to be there. And maybe I'm just a purist of what I originally saw the first time around. Aside from those two things, I didn't see a lot of other tweaks that occurred in the movie. But now I feel kind of snotty about mentioning all that.
You're fine.
So, Bill, what were the movies you ended up picking up?
How I Won the War and The Russians Are Coming.
What were some of the others that were on your short list?
Oh, let's see. I still had that Bosnian one that I thought would make for a good modern military satire. There's this one. I have this one about the suffragette movement, which includes suffragette and one called Iron-Jawed Angels, though I haven't been that curious about it as of yet. I might still do White Man Can't Jump and Color of Money as a double feature. Still thinking about it, to be honest.
Well, I thought you had other possibilities for your World War II movie, which is one.
Oh, right. It wasn't. Oh, what did I have for that? I deleted the that particular entry, so I'm drawing a blank on it, I think.
So, Russ, have you seen either one of those movies, How I Won the War and what was the other one, Bill?
White Man Can't Jump? Yeah, I've seen that.
No.
Let's see. It's called How
I Won the War. And The Russians Are Coming. The Russians Are Coming.
No, I don't think I've seen that one. How I Won the War sounds familiar, though.
It generally is remembered for having John Lennon in it. You might have seen pictures of it with John Lennon looking kind of burnt out in army gear.
Yes. Yeah, I'm looking up images of it right now. Yeah, I've never seen How the Russians Are Coming. The Russians Are Coming. But I think I've seen like pictures or stuff from this, or at least like snippets from it. But yeah, I don't know, like, other than that. Huh. Right on.
So over the weekend, Cartoonist Northwest had their annual Toonie Awards. Bill's the president of Cartoonist Northwest this year. And Russ here was one of the people that won for the category of, was it Best Book, Bill?
I think it was a book or illustration.
Yeah.
Brill won illustration, so it had to be Best Book.
Okay.
It was best new publication, I think, or something like that.
Right. So essentially, Mark and his horde of ringers from Tacoma pretty much swept everything.
What? Everybody else, you could have nominated a bunch of people up inside Seattle. What's up with you? Guess who I'm going to be nominating next year? I'm just saying.
Uh-huh.
You're showing so much enthusiasm for him.
It's because I care.
You said that in such a way that made me sound like you really don't.
I was pretty honored to be part of that. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm. Cool. No, it went a lot better than I was feared.
Yeah.
I was beginning to worry that it would be another sign of the club's demise, and turned out it paid for itself easily.
That's good.
I mean, last night we were getting a little worried that Phil wouldn't show up because we hadn't heard from him for a while, and that was a huge relief, as I'd been looking forward to getting the opportunity to pump him for tips regarding how to do long form well.
Well, you sat at the table with him. Did you have a chance to go over that with him?
A little.
Now, how does the people at the reserve table, how does that get decided?
I have no idea. I think it's something.
It seems like there's always Roberta and Donna Barr always at that table. I'm wondering, why are they always at the reserve table? They're not winning anything this year. Is it because Maureen's at that table and she wants to chat with him?
I'm not sure. I mean, technically, I didn't get it. I mean, yeah,
why weren't you? I mean, you were supposed to be. I mean, you were.
I wasn't sure.
But you're the president of the group. I think you sit at the reserve table. You pretty much just let Maureen run the show there.
Sometimes it's the best way. Even though it forces you to have to listen to her stupid origin, that blasted origin of the club story again.
I think for the people who were there for the first time and didn't know it, you didn't know the origin story, did you, Russ?
Yes, I did know.
No, I'm asking Russ. I didn't ask you.
No, I to be honest, like, I know that they were talking about the origin, but like about 30% into them talking, I kind of spaced out for a minute. Like, yeah, it drew on really long.
Okay, you gotta know you and your wonderful wife are suffering from hangovers.
Well, I wouldn't say hangover. We were really tired. We had friends over the night before, and we were just really tired.
Was there drinking involved from the night before?
I don't recall.
Okay, so this.
However, the mood at the table did get kind of killed by a certain someone that was there.
You mean that guy who wanted Trump pictures?
Oh, no, that was interesting too. No, completely different matter. I won't even get into it. But it was yeah. Anyways,
I'm trying to think how I can possibly improve upon this horrible.
I thought you already had improved on it.
Oh, I need some. I think I need to. Well, I'll just go with some tints and tones for now, and then come back and do some coloring. Yes, the night was filled with surprises. 2 people tying.
oh yeah, for
Yeah.
the thing that was fun. My main thing, I don't know if you were there when things were being said, but
I was moving around quite a bit, so I don't know.
okay.
And
Some stuff
since it's a public,
some stuff got said about.
don't. We're in a public thing. People can listen to this. Just leave the politics
You got
in
it.
the back room. You know?
I agree. Sounds good.
You gotta have a chance of people being able to sit in the same room in the future. So
True story.
let's go for that.
Yeah, true story. I do got a question though. Like so an artist like for myself, that I mean, a good portion of what I do is basically, I'm I don't know, I guess lack of a better word, like I'm drawing other people's characters. Like how do you guys, what do you guys think about that kind of stuff? Like, what is your viewpoints on all this? Like, I mean, I clearly am making a profit off drawing the Flash right now. He's not my character. I didn't develop him. I didn't draw him. I didn't any of that. Like, but it seems like a lot lately. Like, I'm starting to hear a lot of, I don't know, uprising about it.
Fan art?
Yeah, fan art, from more or less.
I have the same dilemma because I do character concepts for other people and stuff. And they do pay me to draw characters for them. And,
right.
And I try not to do a lot of those things, if anything. But I know if I'm at a con, I got to make back my table costs. I know the Wolverine will fly off the table. The Deadpool will fly off the table and stuff. But my other solution right now is I try not to do prints of those. I actually do like original ink. I sell those. It's a one-time thing for me. It's gone. I can draw another one later or something like that. But, I charge like $35 to $65 depending on how complex that is. And, people tend to buy them. That's what I find. Now, if I drop in one of my own characters and stuff like that, it's just glance over. I don't know what this is. And, that's pretty much what I get.
Gotcha.
But I would love to have my own characters and stuff. But I make a living. Like right now, I'm working on a commission on this character here. And it's a series of character sheets that I drew up for them, right?
Right.
So this is based on the description and a bunch of screen captures and stuff like that too, right? So those are little things I'm trying to deal with. But yeah, and right now I'm charging somebody for this.
Yeah, and that's awesome, and that's great. Like you're able to actually make some character design and stuff like that. But yeah. my feelings on the whole thing is you almost need to lay this foundation of this fan art to get more well known. And then you can start introducing some of your new stuff, like or some of your own original proprietaries or own things.
Yeah,
I don't know, and that's just me kind of looking from the outside in, but I don't know.
Legally speaking, you're on really thin ice. Legally speaking.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's a total, ask first. The law of the land is you ask first. However, that's the stuff on paper. But when it comes to social acceptance, right now, geek culture is being very predominant. There's a lot of companies, rather than imposing their will on it, are going with geek culture because it strengthens their brand. Let's take a look at the situation that happened when Disney first took over Marvel. And who was it? Was it the creator of Ghost Rider?
Yes.
Okay, so the creator of Ghost Rider ended up getting sued by Marvel, and he had to pay all the profits he did, even though he was the creator of Ghost Rider. All that profit he made at the conventions, he had to pay back the licensing for all of those. I think it came to like $27,000. Pretty much broke the guy. But since then, after making that one example, they haven't really been going after everybody else because that one example got them a lot of negative feedback. And so there was there was a big scare in the comic book convention world that, oh my God, we won't be able to do fan art. We're going to have to actually come up and do something, sell other stuff other than the crowd is willing to buy at the show.
It's 5 o'clock.
And yes, you can argue parody. Parody is a great argument, but if you're doing a straight up illustration of Flash,
yeah,
well, you're hitting an area where, yeah, you are doing some infringement, but there is in the law underneath fair use. If you're doing, say, a caricature of somebody, you can do a caricature of somebody without their permission and sell it as a print. However, you can only sell that as a limited print of 200 and no more.
Huh.
When you're dealing with something like, say, superheroes, you're not dealing merely with copyright law. You're also dealing with the grand and murky waters of trademark infringement. And so you're hitting multiple points of possible pain. You can argue parody. However, you cannot argue against trademark, because the trademark is not yours. So you do run an inherent risk. You can but again, it's sort of like, are they going to find you? It's a matter of, do you consider it ethical behavior or profitable behavior?
But how is it any different than you drawing your obscure movie alien creatures or anything like that? I mean, that's obviously a property that's owned by a studio and so forth too. I mean, that runs the same gambit, does it not?
It does. This is the same gambit. Okay. Right now, I'm relying on the fact that we're dealing with a culture that's very permissive.
Right.
I'm also, you may notice that I'm running with obscure movie monsters versus
well-known.
Yes, I'm not doing popular movie monsters.
Right.
If I did popular movie monsters, I'd be very paranoid about Universal calling me up and saying, hey, you can't redo our dark universe. We've tried that and failed. You know, or
Right.
so part of it is the odds of whoever's doing these, will this bit of artwork bring this forlorn, forgotten monster to the forefront again, where someone actually does buy the licensed DVD? Is this movie far enough along where people know who owns it? That's another thing. There's a lot of controversy over who owns a lot of these things after so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also the option of, you can always, if it does become an issue, buy licensing rights. The Graphic Arts Guild has this policy of ask first, where you should ask for the licensing rights first. And a good example would be a friend of mine called me up some years ago, and she was concerned about doing Betty Boop for a client was coming to her and wanted a pregnant Betty Boop for a baby shower. And I said, okay, just contact King Syndicate and get a licensing, and then that way you don't have to deal with it. She called up King Syndicate, found out that the licensing was only going to cost her $150 because it was for a limited run. You know, she told him it's a print run of 100 invites, one-time use, low exposure, so $150, and now she was able to do an official Betty Boop. The client was, going, wow, this is a real Betty Boop. Not just some artist rendering thereof.
Right.
If you were doing, say, NASCAR illustrations of a NASCAR of a particular guy or a race car with those sponsors and things, or if you were doing NFL stuff of a particular team, one of the things you can do is call up that particular team or call up NASCAR and see about getting a licensing deal with them. And they do those all the time as well. So you're not working in a complete and utter vacuum. We just happen to know that both DC and Marvel right now, they're willing to let people do fan art and not pursue it to a great extent. But yeah, I gave it a long thought about when I was doing these cards as to where am I going to fall. And I do run the risk in this situation of someone who does own this property saying, hey, either pay me a piece of that or do a licensing from me. But again, who owns the killer shrews or the giant claw, or even once this movie was so god awful bad that people just really pushed away from it, saying, I didn't do that.
Right.
Or it's been so long out there that they just don't care anymore. I'm trying to remember who did do the giant claw. I gotta go look on Internet Movie Database. Actually, I'll look later. Let's see.
But okay, let me ask this then. Like, I mean, we're all kind of connected out there in the syndicate, and we do a lot of the cons and conventions. Other than this, the guy that did the one. Have you ever heard of anybody getting shut down as far as like getting a cease and desist? Like I've done quite a few of these shows, and I've never heard of anybody saying they've gotten a cease and desist.
He's the only one I've heard of. But wasn't there something about with the guy who does the faces? You know the one I'm talking about, the one who has this mountain of face shots of every character you can think of.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. There are some conventions that they will ask you to take down unlicensed material.
Okay.
And like there's this one, some people do nothing but the headshots of all the superheroes and sell those on posters, and they'll have this one pose and they do all the superheroes in that one pose, and they have a bust shot of all the superheroes and they sell those. And there are some conventions that they just no longer go to those conventions because at those conventions they're told that they can't sell their unlicensed material. Now, if you do read a convention form and it says anywhere that you will be asked to take down your unlicensed material, then or you'll be kicked out of the show. So you want to read your agreement.
Gotcha.
So I've heard of that happening. But as far as individual people, most people, the culture started shifting about, I would say, began shifting about 10 years ago and then did a really hard shift about 5 years ago. It started shifting when one example would be Disney saw that there was a nursery, little kids nursery, and they had painted on the side of their building all these Disney characters. So Disney came to them and said, "You gotta take that down. They're going to sue this place if they didn't do the mural." Well, Warner Brothers heard about this, and they came in and did Warner Brothers characters to cover up the Disney characters so that the little kids would have cute cartoons. And basically, they did a public bitch slap on Disney of saying, "You guys are going after, your legal department has nothing better than to go after a nursery that has Disney characters on the side of the building. We're going to show you how asinine that is."
Wow.
So if you were to do a Google search of Disney Warner Brothers nursery mural, you'd probably get that story to pop up.
Oh, cool! I got it.
You found it?
No, not yet. I said I got to do it.
I don't know. It just here lately, it's been, I don't know. It's troublesome. Like, I enjoy doing these conventions, but at the same time, like, this is, I don't know.
Oh, I get it, because I've been trying to rethink my swag strategy.
Yeah.
And so at the moment, I've been following Mark's suggestion of mashups.
Yeah, when you do a crossover between two different genres, or mashups tend to fall into parody a lot more than just a straight up like if you did a cyberpunk if you did a Flash version of the Flintstones, say, or I think Bill's taking his comic book characters and putting them into Star Trek settings. But let me put this disclaimer out there. I'm not saying that you should do this. I'm just saying that the chances are that people will give you even more latitude if you do parody. And an argument can be made for parody, but I don't know whether or not you can make any argument against trademark.
Gotcha.
Like from my experience, a lot of the cease and desist usually goes into those guys who I don't know, sell stuff on Etsy. That's what I've noticed a lot of. You know, they're either making props or making toys based off something. I haven't seen anybody with cease and desist on prints unless it's somebody who's gonna make a poster that's gonna sell, 100,000, 200,000 copies or something like that. That's from what I've seen so far. A lot of the, like some sort of print or something like that, are usually in like hundreds of thousands, and Marvel knows, right? And the only people that I've seen a lot of this is Marvel's the one who actually cracks down on a lot of it. DC characters is rare. I mean, DC's got a hands off that says, hey, you're paying homage to our stuff. But I mean, if you're making T-shirts and selling them online and stuff like that with DC characters, then that's a whole whack. Merchandising, right? You're crossing their territories, and I think that's what those Etsy. That's what I've seen a lot of, is a lot of Etsy stores shutting down because they're making merchandise based off a movie or something like that.
If it's all about the profit margin. If you're making a large profit, and they're not seeing any money from it, they're going to get upset. Another example would be, and there's multiple outfits out there that do T-shirts where a T-shirt design only pops up for one day, and then you either buy that T-shirt that day or it's gone out of their library, and they're constantly producing new ones. So people go to that website to look to see. Like, I think Ripped and T-Fury are some examples.
Right.
Well, those artists have been on multiple occasions sued for copyright infringement, and have done their own versions of settling and moving on. It hasn't slowed them at all from continuing to push the boundaries and do more stuff. Because obviously there's money to be made there.
Right.
And all you would have to do to find those is just a T-shirt design lawsuit and the company in question, and see what type of histories pop up. Most of them get settled. I used to keep my ear to the pulse on a lot of that, and I haven't done that for a long time. I'm kind of curious, has anyone here ever applied for copyright? I know I have.
I did the standard filing of a few of my pieces for gigs.
Design that are filed for patent, but those are done by the company I work for. I have to sign a bunch of papers and all sorts of stuff.
For anyone who is listening, I highly suggest that you file for copyright on your original work. It doesn't cost that much, and it offers you the best type of protection you can possibly have. It is, let's see, up to 160,000, I think, for willful infringement. So that would be, and that's per infringement as well.
Wow.
There's also a movement. I don't know. I think it's. I think the hearings are done for it to see whether or not it actually happens for creating a small claims court for copyright.
Yes.
And basically, that's to help. Right now, if you want to file a copyright claim, it's a very long and tedious process, and most people can't afford it. So they tend not to go ahead and apply for it unless the claim that they have is extremely grievous and there's a strong chance that they can make a significant amount of money from it. So but as a result, the copyright notice has noticed that people are not filing for copyright as much. So by doing this, they would be able to encourage people to file for copyright more, because the odds of them being able to fight up and fight for their copyright on a smaller amount, like let's say you have a client that infringed, but it's only like a $2,000 infringement. It's not a big infringement. Well, then you could easily have that taken care of in the smaller, small claims copyright court without having to make, as it were, quote, literally a federal case out of it. Because copyright is a federal issue, it has to be filed in a federal court as opposed to a civic court. What I often tell people to do is, if they find that their work is being infringed, is to send the person in question an invoice, which basically establishes that they're then paying the licensing for what they're doing, and it gets them out of a legal liability a quagmire of legal problems that they would have otherwise.
And for anybody who's interested and hasn't called their congressperson yet, the issue we're talking about is HR 3945, otherwise known as the Case Act, and by all means call your representative.
So that's still going on, Bill?
Yes, it's been stalling.
So, kind of on the same subject, I was at a show last weekend, or it was the weekend before, up here in Washington, and this guy was vending in front of me, had tons of just amazing art. Like, things were just awesome. And so I went up, I was talking to him for a bit, and then I go, "Are you the artist?" And he goes, "No, I get all my stuff overseas, commissioned by the artist, and then I mass produce them and sell them myself."
Awesome.
So, but at no point is he getting the permission from that artist to mass produce.
He's not getting the permission from the artist to mass produce?
No, he outright told me that he just gets them commissioned and then mass produces them. But but they're overseas.
But he bought them outright.
He bought the original from them, yeah.
Okay, well, if he bought the original from them, then they signed over their rights.
Yeah.
Well,
That depends, though.
it depends on when people are talking. They often use the wrong type of language.
Yeah.
So when you were talking to this guy,
Okay.
what he might have been saying, "Oh, I bought the originals," meaning that he bought it underneath a work for hire contract.
Mm.
Okay. And if that's the situation, then he has the total right to go ahead and use that work as he sees fit because he owns it outright.
Correct.
Now, that is different than saying buying a license fee from somebody.
There's a fine line. I've seen it where guys who, like, for example, a good example is if you decided to commission one of your favorite artists to draw you a picture of something.
Okay.
And you do it and you pay them and you have the original, and all of a sudden you decided to go around, make prints and selling off it. That's really illegal, that kind of stuff. Right? I've seen it done. And maybe this is what he's doing.
And that's what that's kind of the gist I got from him is that's what he is doing.
Well, if that's what he's doing, then that is illegal. Because when you sell an original piece of artwork to someone, you're not selling your rights to the licensing of that material.
Right.
But if he's doing it with people from overseas, they may not be aware of.
And
a
that's
lot
what
of it too is they're not aware. They're getting paid to do something, and that's the end of it. It was kind of cool.
A lot of artists are not aware and should become aware of what their rights are and when you sign them away.
Yeah.
I did a whole little public service announcement thing on this very topic. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can see another one where I talk about copyright. Also, copyright is different in different countries. So China has terrible copyright laws.
And that's where he made it seem like he got all these from artists that are, mainly based out of like China and Europe and like the Philippines and stuff like that.
I've seen a lot of that being done with at these little the local cons here in Toronto. I go up and go, hey, I've seen these painting before. It's coming from so and so or something like that. And they're from the China, some sort of artist or something like that. And I go, are you the artist? And goes, no, we get them overseas. We get them print overseas, and they sell them for $20 and they fly off. And I'm just like, I wish I had the balls to do that.
Right.
But I know I'm a creator, and I got people who a lot of followers that says, hey, Locke, we've seen a lot of your stuff over in Philippines on cell phone cases. And I'm like, well, I can't really do much,
I guess that's one way of knowing that you've made it.
Yeah. It's mostly cell phone cases. And I'm like, okay. Right. So it's like, we're the small group, right? Until we hit it big, and then we have a team of lawyers behind us, and they can, chase after that kind of stuff. But it's hard.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Or if there's a situation, you can become a member of the Graphic Artists Guild and see if they can possibly lend assistance.
Yeah, that's true too.
There have been cases like the guild was able to help with this one friend of mine. He had done this bit of packaging artwork for a cookie company, and this packaging artwork was then sent to China, to be applied onto a tin of cookies, because you have to get your cookies tins printed onto the actual metal somewhere, so that they were being printed in China. Well, apparently some other company called up this Chinese printer and said, "Hey, we're this cookie company, and we want some packaging to put on this cookie. Do you have any packaging illustration lying around that we can use?" And they said, "Oh yeah, we got some cookie packaging lying here," and it was my friend's work. So they had obviously infringed. Just so my friend, he had to sue because he was being hit by his client saying, "Hey, my competitor's cookies using your artwork. What's going on here? Are you licensing it?" It's my friend's going, "Oh, I'm not licensing this. What are you talking about?" So they had to go after the printer.
Wow.
That stuff does happen.
Well, this particular guy will be at the Toy and Geek Fest, so when we're there, I'll introduce you to him there, Mark. And
great!
You can.
Why should I grill this guy?
I'm just curious to see your opinion on what he's doing.
So you want me to go and meet some stranger and say, "Oh my God, what you're doing is completely illegal"? You
No,
bastard.
man, I'm not saying that you go up to him and you start giving him the Fifth Amendment. I'm just saying that maybe you better understand it than I do. There's a chance that maybe I misunderstood when he said that he was taking art from people. I don't know. Either way.
So he's going to be at the Pierce County Toy and Geek Fest.
He sure will.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, some of these shows. Oh, Russ. So I did talk to you a little bit about. Oh yeah, I did talk to you earlier about what might happen with my going to Lilac.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. For those who live in other countries or not in the know, Lilac is the comic book convention that happens in Spokane, Washington. And Russ and I are currently slated to show table at this event. So if you're when is Lilac? It's going to be June
2nd and June 3rd, I think. So just in a few days. So not this upcoming weekend, but the following.
Yeah.
So I've decided from just this conversation, I'm just going to go back into doing fine art. I'm just going to paint still life and flowers.
You'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's a fine line. It's one of those things where they don't really go after. Most artists they'll see they're okay, but it's really thin fine line. So yeah, like a friend who does Marvel stuff, but they give him the license to do more Marvel stuff. He's allowed to do that, right? As long as he's selling within a certain amount. If he starts going into T-shirts, he's not allowed to do T-shirts. He's not allowed to those kind of things.
Yeah.
So that's where things gets into the gray area. Most of his stuff is prints and books. That's all he does, right? And that's what they allow him to do because he does Marvel comics, right? Yeah, unless you're like Alex Ross or somebody, or those guys, they make a lot.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, right. But
Certainly, nobody's really worrying about commissions right now.
yeah. Yeah, so next June, I'm going to be pretty much busy every Saturday and Sunday. I'm pretty much booked. So, yeah.
What are some of the conventions you're going to in June?
A lot of them are up in Toronto. The Toronto area, anyways. One's called GraphicCon. Another one is trying to remember. These cottage country cons and stuff like that, YetiCon and all these little cons up in the north area where they're just 2 to 3 hours max for me to drive to, because I usually drag my 11-year-old with me and we spend the day and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. Eventually, I want to go down to Boston and Chicago and stuff like that. But going down there right now, I'm just trying to get my face out.
Cool.
Like, and say, oh, you're that guy, the Mad Monkey Love guy, right? So
Yeah, because that's definitely what I'm wanting to do. It's I kind of burned out on cons after getting priced out on ECC with none of my books moving.
Right.
So now I've been starting to do research properly, so I don't be stupid about it and have actual stuff I can sell rather than bankrupt myself by trying to create enough stock on the books.
Yeah.
With books.
Well, I'm being asked to make books right now, so they're asking if I have a book. You have a book? I have a book. So,
I definitely.
Let me tell you, books are. My books have not been selling as well as my other merchandise. The reason I'm doing this second deck of cards is what's selling for me now is this deck of cards.
Yeah, because I mean, I definitely want to have books, but at the moment I've got 12 years of material, and where do I start? And therefore, if I'm going to do books, I want to do it through, say, a Kickstarter and print them properly rather than doing the half-assed, overpriced stuff with print on demand.
Yeah. Yeah. We just had a last week or a couple weeks ago. We just had a thing called a Toronto Comic Art Festival up here at CCAF. It's run by the library, and that was something you guys might want to look at if you guys want to push your book, because that's really, to get into that, it's a free table, but to get into it, you have to have books, right? And they're mostly promoting local artists, Canadian artists, whoever has a new book, and they bring special guests from overseas and stuff. And they have professional days, 3 or 4 days before the actual convention, which is usually on Saturday and Sunday, which is all free to the public. But they have programs and stuff like that. But professional days is usually they bring educators, school boards, and librarians from all around the world. They bring that in, and they say these are books that are how you promote readings, and most of the artists that shows up, they usually purchase those books and puts them in the shelves in the libraries and stuff like that too. So it's kind of nice to have that. I don't know if it's a Canadian thing or something the libraries do, but that's what they're doing, is they're asking for books. They say, we want to put this, because right now I can take my daughter to a library and she can get all the anime manga she wants. So it's available to borrow.
Gentlemen, it is getting close to 5:40, so I'm going to have to close down this episode of Epic Sketch Time because I've got dishes to do.
Oh, dear.
Next Monday is a federal holiday. We will not be holding an Epic Sketch Time, so hopefully I will see you guys in June.
Yep, I'll be doing all my sketching in Seattle Center that day evening.
Wow.
So I'll send out an email when the next one's going to be occurring. There's also a possibility that I might be traveling, in which case it might be in another 3 weeks before we do this again. But you'll look for look for an email. And if people out there on the interweb want to sign up to our mailing list, look for it down below in the doobly-doo, and you'll receive announcements of when we're going to be having our next meetings. I'll talk to you guys later.
Hey, guys.
Bye.
Where's that off button?
Don't know. Where is the off button?
This happens sometimes when I have two monitors up and running. Oh, and I also have to plug and unplug in my keyboard. There we go. Well, Russ, I'll talk to you later.
All right, buddy. It was good talking to you, and thanks for epic sketch time. It's awesome.
And I'll let you know what happens with the animation soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.